The 27th day of the horrific Operation Fury marked an extreme escalation when the U.S. Air Force deployed the B-52 Stratofortress flying fortresses to the battlefield, a symbol of strategic bombing power for nearly 8 decades. Despite having served for nearly 80 years, this type of fighter still demonstrates terrifying destructive capability as each sortie carries up to 31 tons of weapons, turning the airspace into an attack platform from a safe distance. The strikes did not stop at free-fall bombs but were expanded, with ACM cruise missiles launched from outside air defense range, making interception systems almost neutralized from the early stages. After strategic targets were broken by long-range firepower, the B-52 moved to the finishing stage with high-precision CD-guided bombs striking directly at key points. This shows that the U.S. has established almost absolute air superiority, opening an unobstructed attack corridor on the ground. About 2,500 Marines and more than 1,000 soldiers from the 82nd Airborne Division were deployed, creating a pincer movement between airstrikes and expeditionary forces. In another direction, the Iraq battlefield heated up quickly as a 1 Okwan continuously performed sorties lasting up to 8 hours, focusing on pro-Iranian militias around Mosul and Habaniya. These rapid strikes are not only of tactical significance but also a strategic message. The campaign is being raised to a level of total destruction, forcing Tehran into a state of passive defense on many fronts. Ladies and gentlemen, the deployment of B-52s from bases such as ANH-NU and AAF F-4 is not merely a military action, but a global deterrence statement. From here, long-range strikes can reach any target, making geographical distance almost meaningless. When air superiority completely tilts to one side, every movement on the ground is at risk of being detected and destroyed. With about 10,000 targets attacked, the B-52 plays a pivotal role in paralyzing the enemy's defense and logistics systems. The expansion of aerial refueling forces helps maintain a continuous attack rhythm, creating enormous pressure that tightens the battlefield. Meanwhile, Tehran's claim of shooting down an Fa-18 remains without credible confirmation, further showing the large gap in air control capabilities between the two sides. A newly appeared video has clearly reinforced the image of absolute U.S. air superiority, as the USS Abraham Lincoln deployed Fa-18 aircraft with continuous support from refueling planes. This is not just a normal combat operation, but a testament to the ability to maintain unceasing pressure, turning the battlefield airspace into an almost absolute control zone where the U.S. can proactively extend its presence and to attack at will. Precision airstrikes continue to be maintained at high intensity, focusing on eliminating remaining threats from T. Notably, not only were military facilities destroyed, but even one-way attack unmanned aerial vehicles, once considered effective tactical tools, were detected and destroyed, even when camouflaged in forests, warehouses, or hidden positions. This clearly reflects that reconnaissance and combined precision attack capabilities have reached an overwhelming level, making all concealment efforts almost meaningless. In that context, Tehran's remaining resources are gradually being exhausted, pushed into using their last cards. As these means are continuously eliminated, the ability to maintain battlefield balance almost collapses, and Iran falling deep into a state of passive defense. On the political front, President Donald Trump said Tehran is seeking a deal after heavy losses, while warning that opportunities are running out if they do not act seriously. This statement is not only deterrent, but also reflects a clear shift in the balance of power on the ground. At the same time, criticisms aimed at NATO also show differences in approach among Western allies. In another direction, Israel announced it had eliminated a high-ranking Iranian naval commander, a figure believed to hold an important role in the plan to control the Strait of Hormuz. If confirmed, this would be a direct blow to the capacity to control strategic maritime routes, significantly weakening the ability to pressure the global energy supply chain. Developments at this strait are showing a conflict that is not cooling down but entering a new escalation phase as key personnel in the Iranian military apparatus are consecutively eliminated, reflecting a systematic strategy to weaken regional control capacity and push the opponent into a state of total passivity. In the context of escalating tensions, the U.S. made a 15-point ceasefire proposal demonstrating strategies of both applying pressure and opening a path to de-escalate. This proposal package includes easing sanctions, establishing civilian nuclear cooperation under the supervision of the International Atomic Energy Agency, while requiring limits on missile development and ensuring maritime safety in the Strait of Hormuz. This is seen as a comprehensive framework to control both military factors and regional stability. However, Tehran reacted with a tough stance by rejecting the entire proposal, demanding compensation and security guarantees before considering any agreement. This move has almost closed the diplomatic channel, bringing the situation closer to a new cycle of confrontation. While politics fell into a stalemate, the B-52 Stratofortress continued to play a key role on the battlefield, with an operating range exceeding 16,000 kilometers thanks to aerial refueling. This strategic aircraft can reach deep into Iranian territory, launching precision strikes with long-range missiles and guided bombs. That means even fortified defense areas are no longer guaranteed safety, creating continuous pressure both militarily and psychologically. Although Tehran's proxy forces in Iraq are weakening rapidly, Iranian leaders still maintain a confrontational view, announcing they will continue to launch missiles and refusing to negotiate if still under pressure. This is a sign that the strategy has shifted toward prolonging the conflict despite the increasingly unfavorable battlefield. Reality. Another option mentioned is the threat to blockade the Strait of Hormuz using underwater unmanned vehicles. However, as naval capacity declines, deterrence effectiveness also gradually weakens. Especially in the context of the opponent controlling most of the combat space, systematic strikes are currently focusing on neutralizing the Iranian naval force and command apparatus. The elimination of many high-ranking commanders, combined with B-52 airstrikes to destroy fast attack craft and the rest of the Navy, has created a large gap in the capacity to control the sea. Simultaneously, a 1-0 aircraft continuously sweeps surface targets, causing all reorganization efforts to be stifled from the start. The current situation shows that the U.S. is controlling the tempo of the battlefield, while Iran is pushed into a passive position. Recent missile launches aimed at areas near Abu Dhaha and southern Israel were mostly intercepted, showing that actual effectiveness is not commensurate with the goals, thereby exposing the capacity gap between the two. Besides, the ceasefire proposal from the U.S. side is built as a strategic exit for Tehran, with a focus on reducing sanctions, controlling the nuclear program, and ensuring maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz. This is not only a diplomatic step, but also an effort to reshape the regional order in the context of the strategic balance, tilting heavily toward the U.S. However, Tehran did not choose the path of de-escalation, but continued to make tougher demands, causing the negotiation process to fall into a state of tug-of-war. The contrast in positions is becoming clearer, especially as the U.S. side affirms it holds almost absolute advantage on the ground, and President Donald Trump declared the military situation has been decided and emphasized a notable message: we negotiate with bombs. This statement reflects a clear strategy of combining military power and diplomacy to force the opponent to make concessions. Conversely, Tehran rejected this process, claiming the negotiations were just fake news. However, internal signs show inconsistency between factions, raising questions about who actually controls the situation. This opens the possibility of the existence of back-channel negotiations despite being hidden under increasing political and military pressure. In that context, the presence of the B-52 Stratofortress in the sky becomes a tool for direct pressure, with a payload of up to 31 tons of weapons, including ACM cruise missiles. This strategic aircraft sends a clear message: no target is out of reach. Under that pressure, Iran is forced to rely on remaining options, such as threatening maritime activities in the Strait of Hormuz, to maintain its position. However, when air superiority has been lost, the ability to maintain a tough stance becomes increasingly limited. With more than 10,000 targets attacked, the scale of the campaign has reached an unprecedented level. The B-52 plays a central role with a combat capability exceeding 16,000 kilometers, using 2.2-ton bunker buster bombs to break fortified structures, then 0.9-ton city-guided bombs to complete precision strikes. In this battle position, pressure comes not only from destructive power, but also from the fact that the opponent no longer has any truly safe areas. The B-52 Stratofortress emerges as a central factor in weakening the military capacity. Most of the more than 10,000 targets attacked are linked to strikes from the strategic bombing platform. Not only providing firepower, the B-52 also reshapes the battlefield situation through high-precision, long-range attacks, causing Tehran's defense system to be continuously eroded over time. At the strategic level, the U.S. is deploying a multi-layered battle position with close coordination between forces. A 1-0 aircraft focus on directly attacking Iranian proxy forces in Iraq, while B-52s apply direct pressure on Iranian territory. This combination forms a pincer movement, tightening from both outside and inside, seriously degrading the opponent's response capability. Continuous pressure is pushing the Iranian government into a state of high tension. Although still maintaining a tough stance on the surface, the risk of hardline factions continuing to choose confrontation is very high despite increasing losses, and thereby increasing the possibility of conflict escalation in the near future. In that context, the scenario of deploying ground forces begins to be considered. The B-52 not only plays an attacking role, but is also a tool to clear the way, destroying strategic targets before infantry forces enter. Units such as the Marines and the 82nd Airborne Division could become the next spearheads, opening the possibility of shifting from air warfare to a direct intervention phase. A particularly dangerous scenario emerges when Iran could blockade the Strait of Hormuz. If this happens, the response from the U.S. could go far beyond normal precision airstrikes. The B-52 could expand to carpet bombing along the coastal area to destroy all logistics facilities, weapon depots, and unmanned vehicle deployment networks. Targets that seem small, such as isolated warehouses, are actually important links. In the drone production and storage system, including underwater devices, the appearance of new combat systems like the LAMRAY shows that the battlefield is entering a completely different phase. This is an underwater unmanned platform capable of detecting, tracking, and attacking targets with small torpedoes while simultaneously deploying aerial reconnaissance drones to expand surveillance range. When these technologies are brought to the field, the combat space is no longer limited to the sky or the sea surface but expands into a multi-tiered system. Every movement can be monitored and attacked. The combination of airstrikes from the B-52 Stratofortress and the LAMRAY underwater unmanned systems is creating a complete pincer movement. Pressure comes not only from above, but also appears from under the sea, putting the entire coastal defense line of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps at high risk. The ability to control the Strait of Hormuz therefore falls into a state of serious alarm. The battlefield situation shows a clear trend. Iranian forces are being continuously eroded with increasing military pressure. The number of targets attacked is increasing rapidly, not only reflecting the intensity of the campaign, but also showing the ability to maintain a superior combat tempo, leaving the opponent without enough time to recover or reorganize forces. In the coming weeks, the risk of escalation is very great, as the number of destroyed targets could reach the 15,000 mark. This is not merely a statistical figure, but a sign that the campaign is moving to a phase of total elimination, neutralizing all remaining military and logistics capabilities of Tehran. Parallel to that, the strategic focus continues to revolve around the Strait of Hormuz, a key bottleneck for global energy flows. Weakening the ability to control this area not only affects the regional situation, but also directly impacts the world energy market, turning this area into a focal point with significance far beyond the military scope. The possibility of the appearance of infantry forces is becoming an important point, signaling a shift from air warfare to direct confrontation on the ground. If this scenario occurs, the conflict will enter a completely new phase, with a higher level of complexity as expeditionary forces not only play a supporting role, but directly participate in controlling strategic areas. In that structure, the B-52 Stratofortress continues to hold a central role as a tool to clear the way. Airstrikes aimed at destroying key targets will open a corridor for ground forces to enter. Units such as the Marines and the 82nd Airborne Division could become the main attack spearheads, especially in